pieces. They're kind of micro, I don't know quite what to call them. They flow in, sometimes they might be considered prose poetry or flash or micro memories. So I've just picked 5 random short pieces, which just to give you a flavour of the writing.
Just on the screen reading, it might have cut off slight edges of some of the words.
Okay, no, I'll use the book. I'll use the book then.
Just in case.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'll read. Okay, so the first reading, I'm in Zambia. I'm about 7 years old, and it's called "This Moment of an Almost Elsewhere." My arms floating up and down like the wind-swayed branches as I tightrope walk the driveway curb. My little sister Molly and her new friend Jessa, Jane Blonde number 2, are pretend pushing Mum's sky blue Peugeot, the rag-top roof rolled down, and Jessa trips on a red bucket and comes to show me her sore knee. From the house, music and laughter. "I'll nip down and get a few more," calls Mum, swinging open the screen door, tripping down the steps, into the car, chunk. And she reverses, and I scream, but nothing comes out of my mouth. White noise, clouds swishing together, the car halting, Mum flying out to find Molly lying between the wheels. A high, narrow whirling in my body, as though I'm a silver fish just hooked and lifted from the blue sea. And please, did my prayer fly fast enough? Heaven seems so far away. It was only a split second, but I was supposed to be in charge. And now my mum slides out my sister and clutches her body, soft and limp as a pillow. And "Thank God," says Mum in a cracked voice, as Molly utters a pale whimper, her thin body trembling like a dragonfly. The next piece, we did a lot of moving when I was growing up, so that was mainly the difficulty for me when my life felt like a blur, and so these memories are kind of snatched little moments, kind of like a kaleidoscope where you might just sit on a colour. So this one is called Freak Wonder Sky. Am I right? No, I'm not. A road trip with car sickness and appendicitis. Oh yeah, okay. So this one is we've moved back to Ireland and we're about to head up to Donegal on a road trip from Limerick. My dad's family come from Donegal, so it was always exciting to go, but the trip was always a little bit stressful. So road trip with car sickness and appendicitis. Leather and cigarettes, belting around bends, endless fields, yellow-green bracken, stippled like a pawpaw. Inconceivable to hope they consider refraining from chain smoking. But it's not just the smoke. The sickening stench of the car itself prongs my nostrils. "Dad, I need to throw up." He swivels around in his seat, taking his eyes dangerously off the road. "Can't you wait till the next pub?" But no, I can't. Hurtling along skinny, winding roads, some lanes extra narrow, some ditches too close. It's being shut up in this car constantly, at risk of hitting something, of going off the road, thinking maybe in a few minutes I'll be dead or paralyzed, be blind for the rest of my life. If it weren't for the nausea and the clutching fear and the inevitable stop at Paddy Burke's in Clarenbridge and 2 or 3 other pubs, and the fact that I know we'll end up skipping our visit to Westport and head straight to Donegal, I'd love this rainy road trip. Already the light is fading along the curved horizon. Eventually, finally, at last, we arrive in Letterkenny. We crawl past the ribbon of shops along Main Street, veer right up a steep, narrow street. At the pinnacle, looming above the town like a great beached ship, the cathedral. This, Dad tells us, is where my appendix burst when I was 10. I'd complained to my mother about stomach pains, but she thought I was trying to skive off school, so she shooed me out the door. There, he points, right there, that's where I collapsed. My brother Brennan carried me home. I woke up to poppy candles around the bed, the family chanting prayers. It was my father's cousin who gave me an emergency operation and saved my life. We've all heard this anecdote before, but this time he gives it physical context. For an interminable mile, I stare at the pavement, visualizing a 12-year-old boy, the same age as his son Rory, my wild cousin, piggybacking his unconscious 10-year-old brother, staggering and stumbling and panicked. We loop around the town, past O'Boyce's, and turn up the knuckle towards Cove Hill. It's 1 a.m. We were expected 8 hours ago. Lights go on. Auntie Jan rushes out, arms open. Incomparable happiness. So I think, yeah, frequent. So now we're still in Limerick, and we've been invited by our new neighbours. We've moved house. We've been invited by our new neighbours to go visit, stay for a weekend with them in their holiday cottage in Dingle on the west coast of Ireland. So this is called Freak Wonder Sky, Dingle. Before I turn and see the smoke running from the house like a scared dog, before I remember the caramel in the pot and the stove plate I might have forgotten to turn off, before I think of Juno asleep in the last room at the end of the corridor in the cottage 50 metres away, before I bird fly the dune, the strand, the road back to the butler's house, burst through the front door, before I lift my t-shirt to lock out the fumes, slam the kitchen door with its long tongue of fire, shut door after door after door to hold back the smoke, sprint my hair loose, yank at the knob, which won't open, until I twist the other way and stumble in, gasping, and lift her out of the bed, nestle her face to my chest so her green eyes are covered, the way they bring horses out of a fire, and Juno's legs grip round my waist as I plunge back through the reek, seeping from door chinks and fractures. Before all that, I stand on the brow of the sand dune and say, this is the end of the world. Yeah, the sky. I suppose I was a bit of a melodramatic kid, and so this next one's called Waiting for the Sky to Fall. Our life always seemed to lurch from one drama to the next. This one is called Here I'm a Witness to Someone Else's Drama. It's called, Waiting for the Sky to Fall. I'm about 14 in this. Castle Troy, Saturday. Belinda's leaning against the kitchen door. Her dead straight red mop seems plastered by water. Her shiny face. I'm sipping coffee, still in my slippers. It's morning all day on a Saturday because Mum's at work. Can you keep a secret? Belinda waits until my head is a cascade of nods. She moves the empty mug back and forth between her two palms as she tells me. Outside the window, the grass is still straggly. Oh, Belinda, how? How? I mean, when did you find out? The grandfather clock in the study ticks like a steady accusation. I was getting sick every morning. Mum worked it out. She folds her arms under her embarrassing cleavage. I'm a year older and my breasts are still as small as apricot kernels. She glances out the window and I follow her gaze. The soil is pretty boggy. That's why the grass is so poor. She'll be imprisoned for months, she says, like the kidnapped Dutch boss from Ferenca, and then she'll come home with no baby. I keep her a secret, of course, but it gets out anyhow. A scutter, Sophia and I hear them say at the back of the bus. I blaze down to them. What about him? And they laugh. Fuming, I flounce back to my seat. Better to say nothing, says Sophia. Mum isn't surprised, which burns me. When my father finds out, he has opinions too. There's safety, he says, in virginity. Promise you'll wait till you marry. And Thackeray agrees. Be cautious, young ladies. Be wary how you engage. Oh, I will, I think. No scaly lizard is going to dribble near me. Once Belinda's gone, Sophia and I sit in my room and whisper about her situation. Pregnancy must be so scary, she says. The inevitability, like when you can tell it's going to rain. Imagine, I said, your body making another one inside you at 13. And my last one, we have moved to Zimbabwe. Well, it was still Rhodesia back then, and it was in the middle of the war. So this is called War Flowers, and I'm about 17. November. Jack brings a fellow SAS soldier over to the house. Bruce recently lost a leg to a landmine. After a few stiff drinks, he starts doing party tricks with his prosthesis, twists the foot backward, then asks Molly to dance. Molly is my sister, one from under the car. Jack enthusiastically pushes chairs out of the way. Barry laughs at her downward glancing shock, cackles from everyone, and Bruce grins too. I think of what Jack said about phantom pain and touch my own leg. Is Bruce relieved that the randomness of his body's flung trajectory spared his life? Does he feel lucky? I suspect not. Somewhere in his tone, I can detect a buried miasma of futile rage, camouflaged grieving. How would I feel, really? Our minds are one thing, but what lashes us to life if not our bodies? So, our new normal is this endless presence of soldiers swarming into our house like the profusion of roses clambering over our wall. Molly calls them war flowers. Thank you for listening.